Good afternoon. I'm KJ Burley, President of the Board of West Virginia Wellness Incorporated. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to bringing complementary, holistic, alternative, and integrative medicine to West Virginia and beyond through lectures, health fairs, and other forms of education. And today I'm very happy to introduce to you Patricia Rogers. Patricia is a diplomate level certified craniosacral therapist. That means she's an advanced and certified practitioner of craniosacral therapy. She's a graduate of Marshall University and holds professional licenses in West Virginia and Ohio, as well as Florida. She's an advanced preceptor and teaching assistant for the Upledger Institute and serves as a primary therapist at intensive therapy programs for integrative intentions. She was an invited primary therapist at the Alzheimer's Research Intensive Therapy Programs of the Upledger Institute in 2018 and 2019. Patricia is the owner of Body to Brain Therapy in Charleston, West Virginia, and today she's going to talk to us about anxiety demystified. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you so much, KJ. So, okay. Just want to make sure I've got this. Okay, so anxiety demystified. I've had this problem before. My keyboard doesn't work during Zoom, but my mouse does. So, is stress controlling your life? So many of us had busy and challenging circumstances and life things going on even before pandemic. And many of us now find ourselves just kind of hanging on by a thread. And so I thought it would be a great time in the course of the pandemic to talk about ways that you can get in the driver's seat to begin to manage your anxiety. So again, I am a craniosacral therapist at Body to Brain Therapy in Charleston, West Virginia. And so today we're going to be talking about anxiety and its roots in the body. Then we're going to give you 2 life hacks. And just as a heads up, you'll need a sticky note or just a scrap piece of paper and something to write with, anything to write with. Anytime you can grab that between now and near the end of this presentation. It'll be a pretty short presentation, maybe 25, 30 minutes, plenty of time for questions afterward. And then near the end, we will talk about some crutches and some coping mechanisms to help manage anxiety. So mental health, as I've said before, early on, even in the pandemic, as early as a year and a half or more ago, people started really talking about mental health, focusing on mental health and the importance of prioritizing it and recognizing need for extra care in these stressful times. And so here is something you may or may not have heard. Mental health, it's all in the body. What does that even mean? What are we even talking about when we say mental health is in the body? So I'm going to talk with you a little bit about the nervous system. And this is not to be too technical. This is for any layperson. You can follow right along. There's not going to be any vocabulary quizzes at the end. Just to give you an understanding of where I am going with this conversation, if you do happen to have a science background. So today I'm going to focus on the peripheral nervous system. So in other words, the brain and the spinal cord are the central nervous system. And so the peripheral nervous system is everything that's outside of the brain and spinal cord. And in particular, for today, we're going to talk about the autonomic branch of the peripheral nervous system. So the autonomic branch is different from the branch that controls your muscles, your movement, those voluntary choices that you make about how you move and operate in the world. The autonomic branch is the organ control, the visceral control that's involuntary. And so the autonomic nervous system governs involuntary functions. It governs the heart rate, blood pressure, breath, and digestion. So the autonomic nervous system is further divided into two separate branches. One is called, the common term for it is rest and digest, and the other branch is fight, flight, or freeze. So you may have heard of those two branches of the autonomic nervous system before. So let's take a look at them, because the autonomic nervous system is in charge of threat response. So what do we mean by fight, flight, or freeze? The autonomic nervous system, in particular the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system, is in charge of protecting our life. In situations where our life is in danger, where we need to fight for our life, to run for our life, or to play possum because of an imminent threat that we want to hide from or need to hide from, the autonomic nervous system governs our biological processes within the organs of our body to provide us our best shot at being able to win that fight, or to win the race, or to keep us really still and quiet so that we stay out of harm's way. The other branch of the autonomic nervous system is rest and digest. And I just love a picture of a kitten, and who doesn't? But in particular, I think of a kitten with a fat belly full of milk. That is my typical image that I go to for rest and digest. So the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system is our rest and digest. So let's take a look again at autonomic balance. So what we mean by balance is that the sympathetic, or the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, or the rest and digest, they really need to be in balance. So we need to be able to have both sides of the autonomic nervous system working very well in order for us to be well adjusted and for us to respond to things in an appropriate manner. So on one side of the scale, we've got eustress, which is just a fancy term for good stress. And what do I mean by good stress? So that's anything that's going to keep you motivated to do some efficient and worthwhile and important work that you do. And exercise is another part of the sympathetic nervous system. And that is, the sympathetic tone is required in order for us to get to the right level of activity, for us to get good exercise. On the other side of the balance, we need parasympathetic dominance, or we need rest and digest nervous system function. So we need good sleep, we need relaxation, we need nutrition. All of those things need to be in balance for all of the nervous system to be functioning optimally. So what happens when we get too many stressors? I think everybody can see from this rock pile what's about to happen. As we pile on more and more stressors, we're about to have a tumble, and we're going to lose autonomic balance. So what we find is that with increased stress, we have increased threat response. And so if you go back to what that means for the functioning in the body, you're going to have increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, fast, rapid breathing usually, and you're going to have a decrease in your digestive function. So that's what happens when we get out of balance, when there's too much stress and not enough sleep, relaxation, and nutrition. So here's an important thing to know. Our nervous system's number one priority is not our happiness. Our nervous system is not particularly concerned in having us to live a fruitful, fulfilling life. That's not where it's at. It's in survival. So the nervous system is specifically designed to keep us alive, to keep us functioning. And it's really very powerful at doing that for us. It's amazing the things that the human body can survive because of the functioning of the autonomic nervous system. but that doesn't mean it's going to keep us happy. So what's this life hack, you say? So we've got 2 life hacks for you today, and this is my assistant, Bazia, bringing you the first life hack. And so that is that the involuntary autonomic nervous system, in fact, is not 100% involuntary. There is a way that we can get into autonomic nervous system function and shift and change it for ourselves. The voluntary override for the autonomic nervous system is through the breath. Because we have the choice, right? At any given time, if you choose to notice your breath and see that your breath is rapid, maybe it's shallow, you can change your mind. You can choose to decide to change what your body's doing and deepen your breath, slow your breathing. I'm just going to take a moment to do that right now, just because I think it'll feel good for me. And you may try it too for just a breath. And just notice, we have the opportunity. We can choose to do that anytime we want. And the result of that is that we have an impact on our autonomic nervous system function. And when we choose to be intentional about our breath, we can impact heart rate and blood pressure and digestion. We can change all of those things about how our nervous system is functioning by choosing to pay attention to our breath. So you may be thinking, relaxed breath can result in a more relaxed body and relaxed thoughts. You might have heard that messaging before. You may have also been thinking, that's why meditation, mindfulness, yoga, they all can calm the mind. That's what people say anyway, right? And maybe you're still feeling skeptical. That's okay. Yeah, but I can't sit still, I can't focus, I'm not flexible, all of these things, I'm not interested in it because I've heard all of this before and it really doesn't work for me. And this lady obviously does not know who she's talking to. Okay, I hear you. I get it. I do. Actually, I have been there before. I have been in a seriously anxious state where there's no sitting still, calming myself, trying to remember to breathe more than once or twice. It's just not going to work. And this I'm not flexible excuse for yoga, by the way, that's a whole other talk in and of itself. We won't go there today, but I do hear it all the time. So what is life hack number 2? So let's go back to the sympathetic branch of the nervous system again, the fight, flight, or freeze. Because I want to talk just briefly about animals. Animals serve as a really good way for us to understand nervous system function because they have one way that their nervous system functions differently than ours does that actually gives them a bit of a leg up. But we have lots to learn from them. So many of you are familiar with the way that cats react when they feel a danger. When they get into a fight, for instance, they raise their backs like this. So if you've ever been around a domestic cat before, you've probably seen this stance, this arched back. And when you look at this picture, you may feel like you also are kind of reactive to this emotion that this cat is feeling. Maybe that's kind of what it feels like for you when you have particular stressors that increase your anxiety. So you may imagine what happens directly after a threat is resolved for a cat. So you may or may not have noticed this before, or noticed that it happens directly after a threat is resolved. But whether it's with cats or with dogs, you have likely seen a shake. Right? I just love this picture. But you've seen probably at least a cat or a dog before just shake their whole body. And so what they're actually doing there is they are discharging all of the extra energy they charge their nervous system with in order to prepare to fight for their life, to run for their life, or to play dead until the threat was resolved. to hide from a predator. So the nervous system has all of that extra charge in the body. And once the threat is resolved, then the animal shakes off that excess energy. And so what happens next? They go back to relaxing. It's really no big deal. You know, it's not very common to see a cat that has, chronic anxiety, right? So a cat will respond to a threat. They will shake it off, and then they just go back to their cat nap, because that's how cats do it, right? So what happens with humans? We don't remember to shake it off, because we have this big brain that has all of this capacity for all of this reasoning and all of this logic. We get into the what ifs. We start thinking about the threat. We start thinking about the things we could have done differently, or the things we wish we had said, or the things we're sorry we said, or whatever it is that we responded to in a threatening situation. For example, maybe just your boss said something to you about a deadline that's coming up, and you start ruminating about your frustrations with your work, maybe with your boss, or whatever it is. And so you get just trapped into that mind, right? You trapped into the cycle of thinking. And so this is what it can look like. Once you get into that cycle of overthinking, your body starts to hurt, right? And you just start to get more and more anxious. Whatever it is about how your body responds to it, chances are it's pretty uncomfortable for you. And then you get into this rut, and it's hard for you to move forward, and you're not working efficiently, and on and on and on. So we forget to shake. We don't shake, but we're not cats, right? We're not dogs. We're not animals. So what is it that we need to do? Life hack number 2, we have to move. And this can mean anything. I'm not here today to tell you anything about exercise physiology or what you need to be doing for a regimen or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about moving your body. It could mean anything. It could look like a walk. It could look like using some light weights or some heavy weights. It could be boxing. It could be any kind of movement. I'm not looking to tell you it's supposed to look like any particular thing. I am just telling you that the nervous system needs to discharge excess energy if you've been in a stressful situation and you haven't moved your body. If you get that nervous energy trapped in your body, it's going to be really difficult for you to be able to benefit from the breathing that you need to do in order to bring yourself back into balance. So, anxiety in the body. We've talked about the nervous system. We've talked about the autonomic nervous system and the different branches, the fight or flight, the rest and digest. And we've talked about 2 life hacks, which are moving the body and breathing. And so now we're just going to do a little bit of talk about different crutches and different coping mechanisms that we sometimes use, and some of them are more helpful than others. So I put it up here kind of like a family feud board. And so just be thinking to yourself, crutches, what are some of the things that you choose to do that you lean on that help you in times when you're feeling anxiety? And maybe you already have a sense that they're not particularly good for you, or you've heard other people say that they're not particularly good for you, or you've heard medical advice that says you should choose something different. Okay, and then think about maybe what are some more productive coping mechanisms? What are some things that may enhance your movement or your breath in order to help your nervous system to get back into balance? So I'm just going to put up some answers here on the family feud board. So crutches. Oftentimes I hear people say, I'm just going to have a drink, take the edge off. And so many people kind of get into a routine of that. If you're like me and you have a history of having a lot of drinks, then you may also have the experience of knowing that you go to bed and you sleep it off. And I have many times woken up in the middle of the night after having had excessive alcohol, and my anxiety level is actually way up compared even to before I had the first drink. That's because the overall impact of the alcohol is not regulating the nervous system. In the moment when the alcohol is in your bloodstream and it's impacting the way your brain functions, it's turning down your inhibition, and it is going to take that edge off for a while. But the long-term effect of it is not to enhance or improve your nervous system function. An alternative to having a drink, maybe just use 3 minutes of breath awareness. Maybe just take 3 minutes to just pay attention to your breath. Set a timer for yourself. Another common thing, you've had a horrible day at the office or whatever it is that stresses you out, and you binge watch. You just sit down with your Netflix and you watch show after show after show. What do you notice about how your body feels after you get 4 or 5 shows in? What does your body feel like? An alternative, perhaps go for a walk, move some of that nervous energy, then come back. Notice how you feel. Notice what it feels like to sit down and watch a show then. Are you satisfied with just 1 or 2 episodes? Okay, maybe you pick a fight. If you have excess energy, maybe you find that your pattern is that you like to just bicker. You like to nag on somebody you love and you really wish you wouldn't nag on them. Maybe you actually just really get into it with somebody. What if instead, when you feel that anxiety welling up and you notice you're just on the verge of saying something you really know you ought not say, what if you just go in the next room, drop and give me 20? 20 push-ups is I actually got this from an old coaching, a voice coach of mine. I'm a singer, and I was having a particular problem with my voice when I went on stage because of my nerves. And so a voice coach of mine gave me the trick to just do 20 push-ups right before I go on stage. And sure enough, that would regulate my nervous system, and it would allow for kind of a powering down of the anxious energy. And then I could increase my breath and I stopped having the voice problem that I was having. If that's not in your wheelhouse, that's okay. It doesn't matter. The push-ups on your knees, no push-ups at all. There's things that you can do to move your body. Screen time. For many of us, especially in this era of COVID, we have a lot of screen time. We're in front of the computer having to do work. We're on Zoom, whatever it is. And so take stretch breaks. Okay, you've probably heard this before. Maybe you're tired of hearing it before, but have you implemented it? Do you know what it feels like? Have you tried it before and then maybe you stopped? So does this talk and this understanding of basic nervous system function help you to know the value of actually taking a stretch break every hour? Workaholic. So many of us, we can get into that grind and we just go and go and go and go. And so then, it's 9 hours later and you haven't even looked up, you haven't eaten, you haven't walked around, and your body feels terrible. You're so anxious. So if you find that you get in that rut, maybe set a goal for yourself and set an alarm for yourself and just, phone a friend, go with a neighbor on a walk, just find somebody that you'd like to talk with, have a chat, instead of just going without any human interaction. And I know that doesn't have anything to do with movement or breathing exactly. It has to do with the ventral vagal part of the nervous system, and we're not going to get into that, but that's for another day. So just suffice it to say, I threw it in here just for fun. Human interaction is another way to help you regulate your nervous system. So maybe you're a brooder. Maybe you like to ruminate. Maybe that's just a tendency of yours. You like to perseverate. You think and you grind about things, negative thoughts, destructive thoughts, what ifs. Maybe you have some pent up anger. Maybe you have unresolved issues or frustrations with what's going on in your life, with what's going on in the world, and you don't have somebody that you can really talk to about, or you're not a confrontational person and you haven't chosen to, really get into it with anybody about whatever those things are that you're brooding about. One of my all-time favorite things, I haven't been able to do it a lot lately, but I love getting back to it when I can, is cardio kickboxing, because that is a wonderful way for me to move through anger and frustration that I don't want to unleash on other people, because that's not my natural tendency. But it gets stuck in my body and I really need to get it out. So these are some ideas of ways that you may shift and change some of the things that you have been doing to begin to incorporate some other things that can really help you to regulate your nervous system, right? To get to the core of what is dysfunctional about what's going on in your body, so that you can get to a real sense of balance and improve the underlying issues with what your body is doing, as opposed to, just using a Band-Aid to kind of stop thinking about whatever is anxious for you for a while, or whatever is anxiety provoking to you for a while. Those things, I'm not saying that they're not valuable, that they don't have their place. If you have these different crutches that are important to you for various reasons, maybe just pare down a little. Maybe just start incorporating a little bit of this other stuff in. I'm not saying, throw out the baby with the bathwater if there are things that help to kind of calm you, but maybe just to shift a little bit. Okay. So there's just one action item that I have for you for this talk, and we're almost done. We're getting ready for any questions that you have. There's just one thing. I mentioned to you before the talk, grab a piece of paper and something to write with. Do this now. Make reminders for yourself. It's as simple as this: move and breathe. Okay, here's Bazia. She's telling you to do this now. You need to make a post-it for yourself and put this wherever you feel a significant sense of anxiety. When you are maybe looking in the mirror, in the bathroom, on your fridge, by your computer, wherever it is that you like to sit and scroll on your social media, or when you like to watch a show on your device. Put these reminders there for yourself, because the thing is that when we get stuck in the rut of overthinking with our nervous system charge, we're not thinking about breathing. We're not thinking about moving, right? You're not going to be perseverating about this talk that you heard from this lady on Zoom. You're going to be thinking about whatever that threat was, whatever it was that created the anxiety for you. And so you need these reminders until you get into a pattern of regularly remembering that actually you can be empowered to impact your nervous system function. And you do have the opportunity through your breath and through movement to help yourself get back in balance. So another thing that commonly people use these days are electronic reminders. And so if you choose to use this kind of device, you can set a reminder and a lot of people I know, they get devices like this, and the first thing they want to know is, how do I turn off this obnoxious notification to tell me to breathe? Of course I'm breathing. What if you don't? What if you go ahead and use that reminder and take it and utilize it? Or maybe your child, if you're a parent and you have a child that uses one of these devices, maybe you can work with them and maybe they can help you, or you can help them with the settings so that the both of you can have these reminders for breath and for movement. You can set these things to do all kinds of things to remind you of your goals for how many steps you want to take for a day, or how much you want to be on your feet for a day, how much movement you make. These devices I don't personally use them, but I know people that really benefit from them greatly. So if that's your thing, rather than post-it notes, whatever works for you. The point is that you need to get into a habit. And in order to do that, you need reminders to tell yourself you can be empowered to change your level of anxiety. Of course, movement and breath are not necessarily all there is to it, but you do have the power to begin to shift and change this for yourself. So anxiety demystified is as simple as regulate your autonomic nervous system through movement and breath. So you can stay tuned for more great tips with me. I actually am writing a book, and the working title of it right now is Anxiety Demystified. I've developed a website, and so it's right now anxietydemystified.com. You will be redirected if the working title changes for this book, so don't worry. This website should continue to work. If you're watching this video and type in Anxiety Demystified, it should redirect you if the working title has changed for you. And like I said, I'm at Body to Brain Therapy in Charleston, West Virginia. And so if you have any other questions about the work that I do with people with anxiety, I treat people with all kinds of nervous system disorders, including issues with anxiety, with PTSD, with anxiety, with, I'm sorry, I'm looking for addiction is the other A word I was looking for, and lots of different kinds of things that the nervous system impact. So here's my business card. You can reach out to me with any questions or concerns that you have, any curiosities you have about the therapy I do. And again, my website there, anxietydemystified.com, is where you can sign up for an email to learn more great tips about anxiety, how it plays into different things like self-sabotage and addiction. And so I'm just going to open it up now if anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much, Patricia. This has been a great presentation. Looking forward to the book coming out. And in this time of great stress, these will be very helpful tips, I'm sure. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. All right. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much.